What's up, legends? In this quick video, we're going to discuss what is rolling an option. It sounds like a mythical thing that you can just always win on. It's not totally the case. And I also want to show you the math behind it because it's extremely important that you nail down the math. First and foremost, what is rolling and when should you do it and why and all those things. I'm going to start with a stock chart and we're going to come in and pull up. Let's do Robinhood. So first and foremost, rolling an option is not a special button that you just click and, oh, all your problems are solved. Rolling an option is a simultaneous transaction in a broker. What it means is you are buying to close one option and then you are selling to open another option. Generally, you are rolling in one of two scenarios. You have sold a put and you either want to buy that put back and sell another one for either a profit or a loss, and vice versa on a covered call. So this is what I did recently on Robinhood, just to kind of show you the math of this. And then I will also show you the option chart. And then I'll show you how you can do this inside most brokers. So I'm going to pull up Robinhood. And although I can't back time, I'm just going to show you what it would look like if you had a $90 covered call. There we go, just to show you. All right, because this math is extremely, extremely important. So on Robinhood, if you have a covered call on that day and you're like, oh my gosh, boom, stock is absolutely ripping, and I have a $90 covered call. $90 is right here. And you're saying to yourself, do I actually want to sell my shares of Robinhood at 90? Before you roll a covered call, always ask the question, am I going to get called away at a profit? If the answer is yes, there's very rarely an awesome time to roll an option. So keep that in mind. Very often it's just best to let it expire, let your stock get called away and win and be happy. If, however, you find a situation where you're like, man, based on analysis, based on charting, the stock could really rip higher. I don't want to sell for a profit. I want to sell for more of a profit. Then you can roll the option. In this example, timing is everything. Because if you roll the option here, you buy the option for much, much less money. As you can see, when Robinhood starts moving, if you roll this option, that means that you are buying to close your sold call, and you're buying it at $2.50. So you need to make sure that, number one, if you're buying to close this option at $2.50, you need to sell another one for more than that, for sure. On that exact same day, as the stock goes up, rolling the option would have actually put you into a negative position because you're buying to close the option at $2.50, and you would have had to sell the same option, right, the $90 call, on the same day at $6, which is fine, but that's not rolling because it's the same contract. Rolling almost always means that you have to get into another strike or another expiration. So I'll say that again. Rolling an option means that you are getting into another strike or another expiration. You can't roll the same contract into the same contract. If you have a $90 June 5th covered call on Robinhood, which June 5th is Friday, if you had that particular position, you cannot roll that position on this day. You would need to roll it into another expiration or another strike. So I'm going to give you the example of rolling it into another strike, but you have to keep in mind that this $2.50 is the amount of money that you are paying to get out of that option. The very, very important math that you will have to track is if you sold this covered call previously for $1.50. So you previously sold something for $1.50. And you roll the option, which means that you are buying to close the $2.50 price of the June 90 call. So you are going to lose $1 on that transaction. So you are locking in a $1 loss. Now, if on that same day, okay, so remember, you have a $1 loss. On that day, instead of rolling the June 5th, you go out till June 12th and you go a little bit higher and you roll the 95. So June 12th, right? You're selling more time and you're selling farther away. So what you would need to have done is if you rolled the option at the exact same time, which is there, you'll notice that that particular option would have only brought in $1.78. So new net credit of $1.78, you previously lost $1. So you would only make 78 cents on that transaction. Now, this is where it gets tricky, which is generally why I don't mention rolling almost ever, because it's a very, very important math formula. You're going to have to track all this math. If you got a credit of 78 cents and we can see that the option does in fact go down, right? It does in fact go down. And then you buy to close your new option, and you buy to close the option for half off of the price, and you do not get less than what you received, your total net credit was only 78 cents on the overall transaction, and you already lost $1. So if you buy to close this at $1.78 or less, this option you need to hold all the way until expiration in order to actually receive that 78 cents. Because most people are like, oh, cool, I got a net credit. I can just buy to close this one for 50% premium capture as normal, and I'm going to win on the transaction. No, because if you buy this new option that you rolled at 50% of $1.78, let's do $1.78 divided by 2 is only 89 cents of premium capture. 89 cents of premium capture. You will have walked away after fees, probably best case scenario, breaking even. Why? Right? Why do all that work for no money? What almost is always more advantageous, in my opinion, is buying to close a covered call that you want to get out of, letting the stock rip. Because if you're buying to close it, my assumption is that you're expecting the stock to go higher. You buy to close a covered call, you wait hours, maybe a day or something, and then you sell the new credit for much, much more money. If in this situation, you sell the June 12th covered call at 95, so here's 95 right here. You sold that option, you would have received $5 of net credit. And so now if you buy to close that at a 50% off, right? $5 net credit, 50% premium capture is $2.50 of premium. $2.50 of premium minus $2.50 minus $1.50. Now you will have received, and again, this $2 that this is your net credit, $1.50 is how much you bought the other option for, minus $1, which was your loss, and now you're only receiving 50 cents. So very, very, very frequently when I roll an option, I let that option, the second roll, go to expiration so that I can actually make a little bit of money. Here in ThinkOrSwim, let me show you how you can do this. I actually prefer always rolling inside ThinkOrSwim, as crazy as that sounds, because again, if you do not hold all the way until expiration, very, 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 very often, you are going to actually end up getting boned on the transaction. So this is an example here of a position. I do not have a covered call right now on Tesla. I'm just in these shares, but here on Palantir, I do have shares and a covered call at 180. If I want to roll this position, I click on this position and I create rolling order. Now you will notice that I right now have received $12.55 for this covered call. The option right now is $10.85. So all I have to do is click create rolling order, and this is what's going to come up. When this comes up, now you have the ability to select a new expiration or a new strike price, and you need to make sure that you are getting an overall net credit. But again, just as a reminder, you need to make sure that that net credit is going to be more than what you're spending on the previous trade, and you're going to have to hold till expiration, generally. Now, let's talk about that for put sales. Put sales, very, very, very same process. We'll show you a trade I did on NBIS. So NBIS, make this a little bit bigger. This is a trade that I rolled. I sold a put on this day at $1.70. Okay, $1.70, $170, and I got $3.50 for that premium. On this day right here, that premium dropped because the stock went higher. And then on this day right here, I was able to roll for an overall net credit. I bought to close for $1.70, which is a profit. And I sold another 170 put for June 12. The original option that I sold was for June 5. The one I sold for June 12 was for also $3.50. The net profit on this is not the $3.50. The net profit is $3.50 minus $1.70. That's it. And then you're getting a new $3.50. Rolling very often only works extremely well if and when you are profitable on the other position. If you are rolling for a loss, it's extremely hard to now make that a winnable trade on your second transaction if you buy to close that position early. The math would have been, let's do PayPal, because this is something that people do a lot of times incorrectly, is if the stock is going down and they sell a put, again, with bad timing, if you sell a put here, sell to open a put, and you sell a $45 put and you get $1, okay? And then you roll that same $45 put somewhere over here, and you roll and you get $2 on the new option. You bought to close your first option for a loss because the stock went down, and you're only getting a $2 net credit, which means you're only going to get $1. It depends on how much you are paying for this particular option. If you get a $2 net credit on this position, you need to hold that all the way until expiration in order for that trade to work. Very, very often what happens is they'll keep rolling and rolling and rolling a position and end up just making the position worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Timing is everything when you roll a position. It is relatively easy to do, and it's also very easy to relatively do incorrectly. The most important thing is when you roll an option, it is all about the net credit that you receive on the roll, how much you are losing, if anything, on the first transaction, and making sure that after you roll a position, however much net credit you are getting, that general net credit is more than the option that you spent and will be more than the loss that you took. That is the math. Make sure that the net credit that you're getting is more than what you received initially for the option and more than the cost that it was to buy back that option. If that is not the case, you probably most likely should not roll the position. There can obviously be times where it does work out advantageously, and they're generally actually kind of rare. So again, for me, what I very often do is buy to close the position, take the loss, know what the loss is. And then if I get into another trade on another day at another time, I need to make sure that the net credit that I get on the new option covers that loss if I hold all the way to expiration. And that is the key to rolling an option correctly.